What's up, guys? This is the review of the 2007 BMW X3 3.0 ASI. This is the first generation of the BMW X3 series, and it was first produced in North America from 2003 until 2010. Initially, there were two trim levels available: the X3 2.5i and then the X3 3.0i, which was the top of the line. And then I think in 2006, the LCI models came out, which are sort of those midlife model refreshes, and the X3 3.0 SI became the only available trim model. This particular car comes equipped with the BMW N52 B30 engine, which produces 260 horsepower and 225 pound-foot of torque. And it's the same engine that could be found in the 2006 BMW 330i. This particular car is based on the BMW 3 Series platform, the E86. Okay, let's talk about the looks of this car. All right, guys, so when it comes to designing SUVs, there's basically two ways that you can go. You can go with a boxy shape, which is what you see here with the BMW X3, or you can go with really one of those, softer lines, almost minivan looking type of a shape. And I don't know if you can see my BMW CX-9 over there, but that particular car kind of has those soft lines. So there's basically, this is the boxy looking sport activity vehicle, as BMW likes to call it, and it's got pretty fairly sharp lines and just a boxy edge to it. In 2007 or 2006, when the refreshed version came out, BMW did made quite a few changes on the X3 to make it look a little bit more of a premium looking vehicle. In particular, and when you see these plastic trims right around here, in the earlier models, when the BMW X3 first came out in 2004, those were much further up. So the early versions of the X3 had these big plastic trims that were, going pretty high up, both from the front and the back. So what BMW did when they refreshed the look of this car is they really lowered a lot of this plastic trim and made the car look a lot more premium. Additionally, the car ended up getting new headlights. You've got the xenon headlights, and you've got the angel eyes here, and gave it this silver looking BMW grille. So really kind of improved the look of the BMW X3 and made it look more like a premium vehicle that it is. I think the taillights were also changed as well, and that's pretty much what the car looks like. Okay, let's look at the interior features of the car. All right, so before we step into the interior, I want to show you the trunk space. I really like this feature of the X3. You can just kind of lift it this way up in case you need more storage room, and you get decent storage room for what this car is. Again, it's based on a BMW 3 Series platform, so it's not going to be a massive car. But if you don't have anything, you just kind of roll this thing back, and it has a much more kind of a sleek look. Looks cleaner and nicer. So let me close that down. Okay, in the back, here's the space in the back. These seats fold down in case you need additional storage room. But let me sit in here and kind of show you how much room there is. So there's decent room in the back seat. I'm 6'3", and I was the one obviously driving this car, so the seats already moved back quite a bit. But as you can see, I've got plenty of leg room in the back, and this is the room in the back. It also took me a minute to figure out where the cup holders are, but if you look, you can, this sort of middle area pulls back. You get a nice armrest, some storage materials there, and then I think if you push this button, there you get your cup holder. So it's a pretty interesting armrest. It's fairly large, and again, like I said, some storage here. You can't really put much there, maybe some pens and things of that nature. And then there are your cup holders. So let me push that back. All right, let's go. All right, so this is obviously the front of the car. Let's take a look at that before I jump in there. All right, you got some storage there, obviously. This one comes with automatic seats that are power adjustable. Yes, I love the classic BMW thump. So here we are inside the 2007 BMW X3 3.0 SI, and the interior is very nice looking. Again, when the refreshed model was released, BMW really tried to upgrade the interior of the car. So you see these really nice, wood panels right here. The leather was improved as well in the facelifted version, so they started using higher quality leather. But the car in many ways has that classic BMW look, BMW feel. You've got your controls for your windows and your rear view mirror adjustment. Here's where your headlights are, just like in any other BMW. The dials are pretty easy to see. You get 2 sets of dials. Here is the infotainment screen, and let me see if I can, I don't know if you can see it here, but it's pretty old looking at this point. I mean, again, this is a pretty old car, so when you look at the graphics, it was good for the time, but it's obviously outdated at this point. But you can push this button so it goes back into the dash. Other than that, the steering wheel feels nice. It's a little bit of a skinnier wheel than what you find in some BMW 3 Series. Doesn't have the 10 and 2 o'clock notches. You have a bunch of different buttons here for different controls, which again, I'm not a huge fan of that when it comes to sport vehicles or vehicles that you drive for fun. But in a vehicle like this, the SUV, it's pretty nice to have. Here are all your controls. It's got heated seats, hill descent control, traction control that can be turned off. So all in all, it's a pretty nice place to be. You've got the automatic transmission. It comes in different modes. Obviously, the automatic, you can put it in sport mode, and that sort of sharpens the, will hold the gears for longer. You can also have a manual mode. If you push up, it downshifts. If you push back, it upshifts. So that's pretty nice. You've got a small cup holder here. It's not very big, but at least it's built into this column, so it's more solid feeling than what you get with this particular one. This is sort of similar to what you see with my Z4. So not a great cup holder. This middle area is pretty cool. You get some storage right here, so you can lift the top panel up and put some pens and paper and things like that in there. And then if you push a second button here, if you can see that, then you get a much bigger compartment where you can store things. Probably the coolest thing about this car is the panoramic sunroof. So I'm going to open that and show you what that looks like now. But as you can see, it's really nice. It's pretty much goes You have a sunroof basically in the front and in the back, and that's probably one of my most favorite features about the interior of this car. Again, the interior is nice. It's really got that E46 3 Series type of feel. So if you've been inside an E46 3 Series, stepping inside of this car is going to feel very familiar in terms of the materials that were used, the quality, the fit and finish, and everything like that. So, all right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to take this car out for a little test drive, and I'm going to give you my impressions of its driving characteristics. Thanks. What's up, guys? This is the driving review of the 2007 BMW X3 3.0 SI. I'm going to begin today's review by explaining why this car has a significant influence in the automotive industry. I'm always a big fan of driving cars that I think are game changers in many ways. That's one of the reasons why I'm a huge fan of my 2007 BMW 328i, because that's the last analog BMW 3 Series that's been produced. And in many ways, the X3, this first generation X3, the E83 generation, in many ways helped revolutionize the car industry. And here's what I mean by that. When this car came out in 2003, it followed in the footsteps of its bigger brother, the X5. And at that time, there weren't that many SUVs on the road, and there certainly weren't that many luxury SUVs on the road. The X5 and the X3 were basically the first of their kind, and so because of the success that those cars had, many other automakers, Mercedes, Audi, and others, Lexus, started following in BMW's footsteps and ended up, effectively focusing most of their efforts on developing SUVs. And in this day and age, in 2020, 17 years after the first X3 was released, most cars are SUVs, all right? I mean, in fact, most people are driving SUVs. They aren't really driving four-door sedans anymore. And this is one of the cars that helped make that happen. And what was interesting is when this car first came out, it was kind of criticized by a lot of automotive journalists, and I think part of that had to do with the fact that those journalists didn't really know the segment that this car was creating, right? The common complaint with the X3 when it first came out was that it was expensive. Okay, yeah, most BMWs are. And that while it was sporty, it didn't really, have great off-road features that, they expected for a car at that price point to have. Now, unbeknownst to them, BMW was not trying to create an SUV that could go, off-road a bunch and, tackle, difficult trails. In fact, BMW referred to this car as an SAV, a sport activity vehicle, because, from the start, BMW designed this car knowing that this car would primarily be used in the cities and would very rarely go off-road. But they had the wherewithal to tap into the demand for that type of a vehicle that in many ways drove like a car on the road, that was super comfortable, that allowed the driver to sit high up, which is what a lot of people want whenever they're purchasing SUVs, crossovers, SAVs, whatever you want to call them. And it had a lot of success. And because of the success that the X3 brought to BMW, like I said, many automakers followed in their footsteps. So that's the first thing I wanted to cover during this driving review. Now, me personally, I'm not a big SUV guy. I understand why they're popular. I understand the utility that they provide. I understand that that they can be comfortable to cruise in. That some people like to be higher up whenever they're driving a vehicle. So I get it. It's just SUVs for me have always been utilitarian vehicles. Vehicles that can serve a number of different functions. But for me, at least, they've never been aspirational vehicles. Something that a vehicle that I was trying to buy one day. If I worked hard, it just that's not my thing. I mean, for me, an aspirational vehicle is a 911, a Ferrari, M cars, things of that nature. And one of the reasons for that is that most SUVs, whenever you drive them, I mean, they just don't feel very stable. Certainly not as stable as a car. They have a higher center of gravity. They have more body roll. But I can tell you, when I test drove this car for the first time, I was very impressed with the driving dynamics of this car. Even though this is an SUV, even though it sits higher off the ground, this SUV, this X3, feels very tight. It handles amazingly, and it kind of has this feeling of being a compact car when you're driving it, and it's very quick. Again, this is the N50. This one has the N52 engine that produces 260 horsepower and 225 foot-pound of torque. And it's a pretty quick car. I mean, this car weighs 4,000 pounds. And 0 to 60, it'll go about 7 seconds, 0 to 60. So it's a pretty quick car. But I think what's even more impressive about this car is just the way that this car handles. Right now, all X3s come equipped with BMW all-wheel drive system called the X-Drive, and I can tell you that the X-Drive really gives this car a lot of stability. Whenever you're taking it on the back roads like I'm doing here right now, the X-Drive does an amazing job of just making the car feel planted. And no matter how hard you push, the car just feels like it's glued to the road. It's got I think 60% of the power goes to the rear wheels, 40% goes to the front wheels, so it still has that rear-wheel drive bias, but the car just seems planted, and is very stable. And I think the combination of the X-Drive helps offsets the fact that this car sits a little bit higher off the ground than your BMW sedan would. But that's one excellent driving characteristic of this car is that it really, even though it's an SUV, because of the all-wheel drive and just kind of the tight feel that this car has, it really makes you feel secure whenever you're driving on curvy roads like this. Like I said, the engine of this car is awesome. It's super powerful, and in fact, whenever I drive this car, it kind of makes me, regret the fact that BMW decided to remove the 3-stage intake manifold in the 328i when it was released in 2007, because I think that this N52 engine, when it's producing 260 horsepower, the one thing that's not as good as it can be, certainly not as good as if you were to compare this to modern day transmissions. It's automatic transmission, the 6-speed automatic transmission. It can feel a little bit clunky if you're trying to push the car hard. It takes a little bit more time for it to downshift, if the need arises. So you know, if there is one sort of a complaint that I have whenever I drive this car, it's the transmission. And then another thing, but in terms of, you know, the steering feel, you know, feels awesome in here. You know, you can tell through the steering wheel what the front wheels are doing. It's got, you know, nice feedback through the steering wheel itself. It's perfectly weighted. It's not too heavy. It's not too light, and it, you know, kind of helps the car feel nimble whenever it's in your hands. You know, although most SUVs, like I said, are not, you know, leave a lot to be desired when it comes to driving dynamics, especially on curvy back roads like this. This BMW X3 is one of the exceptions in my opinion, and the car really drives like a sedan, even though it's an SUV. So that's it for the driving review of the 2007 BMW X3 3.0 SI. I hope that you enjoyed this review. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment below, and subscribe to my channel. There are going to be plenty more videos coming your way. Thanks, guys.